Daniel Craig, for the last 007, I was willing to put aside personnel conflicts to work with Cillian. The ballroom of a luxury London hotel, where the press conference was being held, was filled with the dazzling light of the ceiling lights, reflecting the silhouettes of celebrities and media. Today, people had come not only to hear about a blockbuster action film, they had come for a surprising announcement. Daniel Craig, the last generation of James Bond icons, would finally work with Cillian Murphy, the man who would inherit the role in his final 007 project. Daniel Craig's appearance always attracts attention, but this time, it was not just because of his name but also because of his relationship with the man who would replace him, Cillian Murphy. Everyone knew that the tension between the two was no secret. The two had had heated arguments over how to portray James Bond in the past, and their relationship had always been surrounded by rumors of discord. But today, Daniel Craig, with his eyes shining and his charisma still strong despite being over 50, stood before the media, declaring something no one expected. The situation has changed. We all know, Daniel began, his voice low and decisive, in this industry, working with a colleague is not always easy. Personal conflicts are inevitable, especially when you have had a long journey like mine. But when the time comes, for the final project, I am willing to give everything to give my all. Cillian Murphy will be my replacement in this 007 film, and I have complete faith in his ability. The entire hotel fell silent, the atmosphere became unusually tense. Daniel's declaration had shocked the film world. These words were not only valuable professionally, but also had great personal significance. Daniel Craig, after years of playing James Bond, has decided to let someone else take over. And most of all, he has announced that he will put aside all past conflicts with Cillian Murphy, someone he has disliked for many years. Reporters started to raise their hands, wanting to be asked about this decision. Daniel, one reporter asked, is it because of this last film that you decided to work with Cillian Murphy, despite all the previous conflicts? Daniel looked straight into the camera, his eyes unwavering. Yes, he replied, his voice serious. I have been in this business long enough to know that sometimes, personal conflicts cannot hinder a career. Everyone has their own ego, but when we are together on a project as big as 007, the most important thing is the benefit of the film. And I know that Cillian will bring a new Bond, with a unique personality and charisma. Conflict between Daniel Craig and Cillian Murphy. The conflicts between Daniel Craig and Cillian Murphy are not new. Over the years, they have repeatedly argued about the portrayal of James Bond. Cillian, with his quiet and profound acting style, always believes that James Bond needs to have a transformation, needs to be reborn with a new image, a version that is not simply an emotionless warrior. He wants Bond to become a complex man, with deep emotional wounds, not the ideal model that people often see. Meanwhile, Daniel Craig brings a Bond that is fierce and realistic. Craig's Bond is a man who endures and struggles, but always retains the quality of a hero and a strong character. For him, James Bond is not someone who seeks healing, but a true warrior. The two men's differences in how they envision James Bond led to disagreements, and sometimes led to heated arguments. Cillian believed that Bond needed to move beyond the shadow of previous generations, while Daniel believed that what he had done with Bond was a strong enough evolution and did not need to change. However, when faced with a final project, Daniel Craig understood that the most important thing was James Bond's career, not personal disagreements. "If I can't play Bond again," Daniel said in a separate interview, "I want to see Bond continue to live on, and I want the transition to be done properly." Cillian Murphy and his statement. After Daniel's press conference, Cillian Murphy sat down for a private interview with the media. In it, he not only shared about his preparation for the role of James Bond, but also talked about his relationship with Daniel Craig. "Daniel is a legend," Cillian said, his voice soft but full of respect. "He brought the Bond that the world loved. And when I was chosen to replace him, I knew I had a big responsibility. But I can't deny that there are conflicts in the way we see this character. Each of us has our own way of playing Bond. But I will do everything I can to bring a new Bond, a Bond that is my own." Cillian also admitted that tension between him and Daniel was inevitable during the preparation for the project, but that their professional maturity helped them overcome those barriers. "We had some tough discussions, some tough conversations, but the important thing is that we all understood that the ultimate goal was to bring James Bond to the next generation." The open ending for the new James Bond. When Cillian Murphy's new 007 film was released, the response from audiences and critics was overwhelmingly positive. Cillian brought a completely new James Bond, a Bond who was not only physically strong, but also psychologically profound. He portrayed a Bond with inner wounds, a man who was constantly facing the pain of the past, but still did not give up. Meanwhile, Daniel Craig, although he left the role, is still an indispensable part of the history of James Bond. He is not only the person who played Bond, but also the person who reshaped the entire image of 007 for a new generation. And seeing the success of the new film, he can take pride in having helped build a lasting legacy. "It was the right decision," Daniel said after seeing Cillian's film. "Bond is always going to change, and I'm glad Cillian has brought about the right change." "Even though we had disagreements, I know we both wanted the best for James Bond.